It is 7 p.m. on May 18, 2021. We are going to open the Committee of Committees meeting. You would do roll call, please.
Yep. I have committee members Chris Samples,
Here.
John Talbot,
Here.
William Luxinger,
Here.
Nathan Maz,
Here.
Bill Motisi,
Here.
Jen Christensen, President Rick Worm,
Give the microphone.
Treasurer Brenda
Here.
Odababy,
Here.
Clerk Sandy Maz, I am here, Public Works Supervisor Brett Fergie.
Here. In your packet was a copy of the minutes from April 20th. We'd entertain a motion for those minutes if you're approving them.
Motion to approve April 20th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Second. John makes a motion to approve the April 20th, 2021 Committee meeting minutes. William seconds. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Roll call, please.
Jen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William.
Yes.
We just had to do roll call. How much longer are we under the COVID rules for this?
We're going to talk about that underneath.
Excellent. Nice to go back to some easier reporting. All right, we'll move on to the report to the officers. So one thing I had that is not on the agenda, we just discussed before the meeting, we begin the meeting with Sandy. June 8th, we are going to be discussing the budget. It's going to be a tough discussion, being that it fills different ownership. Also on June 8th at 6 p.m., we're going to have required sexual harassment training that the board is required to have. So we're just going to do it all in one group. So if you can be here on June 8th, be here on June 8th, 6 p.m. for that training. And then you can do it online.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Aren't I exempt? I already have to do that.
I would prefer all board members be here. Not only are they going to discuss sexual harassment, but board conduct as well. It's just a good reminder for everybody. So if you can be here, I'd prefer you be here.
I'll try.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions on the fuel or water report that was in the packet? We'll move on. Sunvest Solar. So I think I suppose I should give a little history.
Can you hold on one moment? I'm sorry. Sir, if you want to speak, you do have to stand at the podium so that your voice is talking into the microphone.
I'll do my best.
Just make sure the mic's on.
It-
So-
I don't have enough.
A little bit of history, the solar project that was north of town here in the farmland. This is the group that was looking at doing that. Recently, the county reached out to us again, looking for our opinion on the project, and we sent them the board's opinion on the project from previously, which was that the board was against it. They asked if they could come speak and talk to the board. Here they are.
Yeah. On Best Solar. Back in 2018, June of 2018, the Ogle County did grant us a conditional use permit for a 2-megawatt community solar garden on the west side of Junction Road, north of town here. And that was good for a year. I've been back twice a day for my talking about.
I'm like, I can't hear you. Sorry, I won't get into these electronics. There you go. Yeah, tap on it.
I didn't.
Oh, so in any case, we went before, and I think we made a couple of presentations here before the village board during the project. It's in the county. It's not, it was not within the village. So there was a courtesy presentation to you guys. So they, as I mentioned, they did grant us a conditional use permit back in June of 2018. Obviously, there was a list of conditions on it that we needed to follow. There were subsequently 2 extensions granted by the county. And then the project itself, although it did not make the first round of the IPA's lottery that they had, it's pretty close. It's actually number 70 on the wait list. So as you know, they picked a whole slew of projects in the ComEd territory. Many of those projects have been built. And so then they created a wait list of those. Should additional funding become available to bring those projects forward. In any case, the county, I did go back to the county recently, asked for a third extension. And they did say that, no, they were not interested in granting another extension on the project, which is their prerogative. I'm fine with that. And really the reason I'm here with you guys is just to see if there's any interest at all on the village's behalf, if they would be interested in maybe opening discussions about potentially doing an annexation of the property. That way you would have full control, of the project itself. That would be all of the review, any of the conditions on a annexation agreement. There would be the decommissioning agreement, bonds, things like that. And so really, that's all I'm here to ask for, is just to take your temperature and see if it was something that the village would even want to consider, or is it something that they do not? And that's really why I'm here today, just to see where you're coming from.
While I've got you with the microphone working, can you state your name for the record one more time?
Oh, my name is Bill French, F-R-E-N-C-H, with Sunvest Solar.
Thank you.
So again, they approached me about whether we were interested in this. I asked them to come to the meeting and talk to the board. You guys a chance to think about it. You have any due diligence?
Yeah, I did hand you out a site plan. That's a site plan that was approved through the county. As you can see, it's a 2 megawatt solar array. It's on about 11 acres of land. It does sit on the Davis property, the Quentin Davis property. Quentin is here this evening. It kind of tucks it up as far west as we can get it up against the ComEd right away. ComEd does have the large transmission line running through there. So it's about 600 feet off of the road, kind of tucked in behind. And then we did agree to provide some type of landscaping as a buffer up along the west side of the property. So that's what it would look like. I think we're all becoming familiar with what solar panels look like now. There have been several built in this area. We just completed one just north of Mount Morris by the sewer plant. That's our project. That was one that we brought through. We've also built another 9 of them here in the state of Illinois. So I think people are becoming familiar with at least how they look. They're pretty low profile. They don't move. They're quiet. They sit there. So anyway.
I think some of the issues, or some of the questions we had before were based around end of life. What happens at the end of the project? What is there were other questions. I'm trying to remember what they all were. Some of you
Decommissioning.
That.
We call it a decommissioning agreement, or
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
So that's built into your agreements.
So yeah, that's built in not only the agreement with the landowner, but then also with the county. But as you know, that CUP is going to expire here coming June. So if we were to work with the village, we would obviously work to negotiate the same type of agreement or something similar with you guys.
What does the village gain by allowing this to happen?
Well, probably the greatest benefit would be one, having control of what it looks like and how it's configured, and what the end of life would look like. You'd also potentially be able to gain some tax revenue from it.
As far as tax revenue, what dollar amount is typical for the size of the one you're proposing?
In Illinois, so as you know, it all depends on the mill rate of the community or the county earned, but we're finding it somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000 a year for a 2 megawatt facility.
That's your appraisal value.
It's a value that's been established by the state of Illinois on the.
Davis Junction is at the lowest, one of the lowest corporate rates in the county.
Mhm.
So, property tax is going to be pennies compared to
I don't know what your mill rate is. I didn't look that up, but
18.18.
0.18, yes.
0.18.
yeah, again, it's not it's not a make it rich kind of proposition, but we're also there. The services required by the villages are minuscule, if any, to take care of it. So there's no sewer, there's no water. Once it's up and running, nobody visits it. It gets visited maybe once a month by a pickup truck. So it's not as if there's a whole lot of traffic generated. There are no children in it, so it doesn't generate any burden on the schools and other infrastructure that the village might.
I'd be inclined to listen to the proposal if it comes through. However, I'm not a big fan of these solar panels that are taking up farmland. I think there's mega buildings with giant rooftops that are much more suited for this than taking up prime real estate.
Well, myself, I'm not interested in annexing the property into the village. I see no benefit to the village to do that. So I'm not interested in that. As far as solar farms, I'm not against them. So, you know, but apparently a lot of the people who live along it are, and they don't seem to. But to me, that's, you know, most people don't like anything that's built close to them. So it's not
Fair enough
too
there.
much of an issue, but I see no reason why the village would want to annex the property.
Wasn't drainage also one of the questions that we had last time because of how the runoff was from the field? For some reason, that's coming back to my mind that was one of our questions.
Is that just north of the diagonal?
Well, that's why I was trying to figure it out on here, like
where
it's
it
a
cuts
possible
across the road diagonally?
wetlands.
Oh, so, no, we're south of that. So that's at the northeast corner of that. Can I step over and show you?
You can pull up on the GFS too.
I can pull it up.
All your drainage running up. Here's where that large
Okay.
box culvert is.
Somebody has got me ready yet.
Okay,
This is the one where they just cleaned out the ditch
okay,
north.
right,
Yep, and so it's down here. There's a home here. There's a little box building, little square building back there.
right. I just
Used to be
remember
part
that.
of the-
Right, I remember that one homeowner.
The two big concerns that residents brought to our attention the last time that I recall was, one, they were concerned about the airport and the glare, quote unquote. But the other thing that they were concerned about was the expansion because of the vagueness of the special use permit. I think the county was submitted there because of the, on the north side of the high tension power lines, the 100-something other acres
Mhm.
that they're concerned about was expansion. So even though I remember the petition was only for the 11 acres.
Correct. And that's all the CUP was granted for.
But you're not gonna do it unless you get the state.
Correct,
Funding.
correct. Yeah, we aren't going to speculatively build this thing. We would need to be, one,
Subsidized.
roads.
Right, it wouldn't be financially viable if it wasn't subsidized by the state, correct?
Right, you need someone to take the renewable energy credits, and that's how it works, yeah.
William, can you pass that back down?
Huh?
Can you pass that back? Get this up where I can see where.
When is the next round of state?
That's the million-dollar question. Right now, they're negotiating, so that was all, let me back up a couple steps. So this all came through as part of the Clean Energy Jobs Act. Remember, they called it CEJA.
Power lines.
And there were a couple of things in there. There was, some additional funding for a couple of the nuclear power plants in the Exelon fleet. And in addition to this, they were freeing up money for paying for, helping to develop both wind and solar projects. So that was part of the CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act. All that funding was used successfully to the projects. They are negotiating now in Springfield. We'll see if they make it through in the spring session, but they're also looking at maybe either amending that current bill or doing another bill. So there's actually like 3 different bills kind of floating through. They're probably going to mash them together and come up with something. Now they call it either the Path to 100. That's one of the bills that's out there, or the other one's called the Future Energy Jobs Act. So we think it's going to be latched onto one of those bills or be a part of one of those bills. So it could be as soon as May, but it's Springfield. There's no guarantee.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead.
Just so that, one, I understand and that therefore the residents would hopefully also be able to clarify for them as well. So based upon what you're saying, is Ogle County has determined that they're not willing to renew your extension with them, your application for extension with them. So you're asking the village to annex because otherwise you've pretty much got a dead plan.
Absolutely. That's very, very concise. Yes. You put it in good words.
Unless the state approves something before June.
Unless the village annexes, because Ogle County is not willing to consider their application anymore, so they're
Oh, I thought
asking
it
to
was an
be annexed.
extension past June. No.
So we've had 2 extensions granted already. I've asked for a third, which was denied. This project will die on the vine June 16th, 2021.
And so the only way for them to keep it as a viable project would be to ask us to annex in and then treat it as a village
But you
project.
said they could do it by May.
No, I wouldn't be able to get building permits and everything through the county in a
So
timely
you're,
fashion.
okay.
It's,
That clears it up, thanks.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
that unless we annex.
Yeah, I'm not putting your feet to the fire. It's not a,
Yeah.
it's not a one or the other. I feel, in my personal feeling, yes, it dies with the county on June 16th. The only thing is if you were interested, we would open negotiations to potentially move forward. And that's only potentially because you have to successfully negotiate an annexation agreement that everyone agrees to move forward. So that's kind of where I was coming from.
So guess what I could ask from the board members, or what are your preliminary thoughts? Bill?
One of my concerns is just the revenue stream. That's number one. I don't know if it would improve over time for the village. It's one thing. The other thing is the soil conservation and contamination from the plates. I call them plates, when you put up these,
Panels.
what do you call them, channel or?
Panels.
Panels, yeah. I heard sometimes that there is weathering that does take place and that stuff just goes down into the soil. I don't know how dangerous that contamination is if it does take place. And also, I don't know how long these poles that support these panels are in the ground. Last I heard when we talked about this before was they're good for what, 25 years? Or that they're good for 25 years, what you're talking about?
Well, that's our agreement with the landowners for 25 years. It's a
Yeah.
25-year lease with 2 5-year extensions, potentials on it. So it could be a total of 35 total. And that's when we say that that's the life of the project. That's because that's our agreement we have with the landowner. Really in their hands at that point, if we would even want to move forward going longer than that. A typical solar panel has it's warranted with the manufacturers usually 20 years. So that's the other thing. But even at year 20, a solar panel still has about 80% of its producing ability left. They don't degrade down to zero. They degrade over time, but only losing about 20% over 20 years. And as far as anything leaching, they're basically made of inert material. So it's a galvanized steel support. That's what holds them up. They're direct driven into the ground, so there's no concrete. And the panels themselves are basically aluminum frame, silica, glass. That's usually pretty much what makes these type up. At least a photovoltaic is what we would propose. So they really don't leach. There's nothing there. The wiring's all case. It's just like any other type of wiring project at that point. There might be some lead involved, but that's soldering, obviously, at connection points and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
John?
I'm not interested.
Chris?
Oh, I already said that I wasn't interested in anything, sorry.
William?
I like solar energy. I like the concept. I think it's better suited like on a cat landfill, big buildings, other uses that have, other areas that have no use value. So, I'd be interested to hear what you had to say or if you ever brought a proposal forward, but I'm not a big fan of putting it on open farmland.
Jen?
I'm not a fan of it. I guess, a lot of these solar things are coming around here and I don't understand why, considering I know we're not one of the sunniest states. I just think like William, they belong, on bigger rooftops or places that could use it.
Nathan?
I like the idea of solar. Again, I'm not interested in annexing it at this current time, though. So proposal of more information, I'd probably, like Bill, be more interested in listening, but at this time with no information, I'm not going to make any judgment.
So I would ask, so we got a couple that are against, a couple that are wanting to see more information. Can you submit information about what it would be, about what the typical contract holds so they can actually see that? Anything you would normally do in one of these projects, and we can review it again in 2 weeks. We'll give them
Yeah,
time.
See
If
what I
you can
can
get
put
it to her
together.
sooner than later, then she can get it distributed to them. They'll have time to read it.
Yeah, let me see what information I can come up for you and, yeah, I'll work my best to get it to you.
You've got my email.
Yes, I do. Thank you. All right, well, thank you. Again, I appreciate your time and appreciate you listening to me, not throwing me out the door right away, so thanks.
Thank you.
Drink in the Jeep. Move on to the clerk.
As you see, there's a FOIA report in your packet. I think, I've received a few over the last month, nothing outlandish. There's no questions on that.
Everything else.
All right, discussion on connection of well 2 to the internet. You will see in your packet that there are 4 quotes. The first 2 in there are, let me pull them up, so I'm looking at the same thing you guys are. The first 2 quotes in there are for directional boring from here at Village Hall to well 2 across the street. That includes all the installation and everything else. The last 2 quotes are for Wi-Fi services. My recommendation would be to go with the directional boring from Procom. We do not have the need to update equipment as often, and the lines are protected. So I would prefer to go with the directional bore if anybody has any questions or concerns on that.
What was that amount?
It is for $7,442. And in talking with our IT and reviewing the quote with them, they suspect that there will be little or no time needed for them on the other end, as the quote is pretty all-inclusive.
And what's the need to bring this?
This would be the last connection piece from us removing the water tower as a site point. So this is the last piece that we need.
And is this also what connects the concessions?
Nope, connections, it's already been
That one's already
connected.
been done,
Yep, that
okay.
work's already been done. We're back on board with that. This is simply right now, there's a Wi-Fi connection from Visoknik that he installed when we started the water tower project that's connecting these 2 buildings. And so we either need to move it over to our own equipment via Wi-Fi or do a directional bore.
So it is part of the SCADA system.
Yes.
That's how you control well 2. How do you control well 2?
I don't believe, is that, did they say that
It's
was?
sewer, isn't it?
No, well 2's water.
I know that SCADA system is the sewer.
There's SCADA
Yeah.
on both.
There's
Yeah,
capable,
there's
yes.
no-
Is it? Okay.
I do know.
But
that there-
the question is, how do you control well 2? We used to control it via telephone line. We went to the Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah,
Yeah, is that,
Get away from
because
the
they would be able to,
Yeah.
phone line, so
did they
that's
say?
we don't have the phone lines anymore. Those are all
Yeah.
gone, but it also connects the fobs over at well 2 for the bathrooms over there.
Oh, sorry, what was the cheapest quote?
The cheapest quote,
Was that Wi-Fi for 4,200 or something?
the cheapest quote is Wi-Fi for 4,200, and talking to that installer, who actually just did the connection for us out at concessions, the only concern they had is, as much as they are the lowest quote and they would love if we went with them, is that it's Wi-Fi service. And so the equipment needed to keep Wi-Fi will need to be updated at a faster
No,
pace.
I don't have an issue with that. I was like wondering, how did they get to $100,000? What the heck was that?
Where,
I don't know, there were
oh,
4
one,
different quotes and they had a total of
oh, no,
$100,000.
you're getting into signs. Look at that one in a minute.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, nope, for
So
Wi-Fi.
Again, I'm trying to get this in. When you say that the equipment needs to be updated, as that equipment on the Wi-Fi side ages,
Yes.
it fails, it gets outdated, whatever the case may be, and you gotta replace it. With this, you're dealing just with pieces of equipment on the ends of the
Yes,
hard line.
One and done.
yeah,
Yep.
and essentially that's what it would be.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Brenda, we have the money in the budget,
I put it in there.
Yes.
but we're in the red.
It was in there before you saw it. Because I knew that this has to happen. This has to happen one way or the other, because we are running on borrowed equipment right now. So whether we spend 4,200 for the updated Wi-Fi or whether we spend the 7,400 for the directional boring, we have to spend some amount of sum to continue the last piece of our connection here. It is in the budget.
If memory serves, the equipment, the Wi-Fi equipment alone probably exceeds the difference in cost.
After you replace
It'd
it.
be about, well, the quote for 4,200 is for new Wi-Fi equipment.
But the first time you replace it, you'll be above,
Agreed.
Right.
close to being where.
Which is,
Agree.
So you, what they're saying is it's something that we have to update more often?
Yes, and I don't want to.
Well, I was gonna say, how often? That's,
As the equipment updates. So I don't know that there's a,
right.
I mean, we're probably
No, I'm just.
8 years,
5 to 10.
right? The last time, yeah. Again,
5 to
5, 10 is a very good estimate.
I'm good with the board.
I am too.
all right,
Like the
everybody
idea
okay
of
with the
simplifying.
ProCom for
Consent
7,400?
agenda.
All
Yes.
For that.
right, I'll put that on the consent agenda for next week. Moving on in the agenda, I have remote participation, COVID rules, public comment. We're shifting kind of to a dynamic where we're opening up more, and we are still allowing participation remotely with this large, massive attachment at the top of every agenda, setting forth all these rules in case one of you guys couldn't make it due to COVID, or in case we couldn't host the public. I feel that we're moving to a position, though, that we don't necessarily need that as a requirement. So I would like to discuss with you guys removing the COVID option essentially for you guys to attend if you have COVID, or removing the option for the public. However, I'd still like to host Zoom meetings, and if the public wants to attend via Zoom, I'm going to continue to encourage that. But I don't think that we need the language mandating that we may not be able to host them, because I think that we can sufficiently host people again. Thoughts, comments?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't know, what was the governor's or the state's recommendation?
So this where the state
Guidance,
is.
Whatever.
Yeah, so we as a village get to, well, Rick really gets to make that determination, but he had asked for your guys' input as well. But Rick has to determine that we need these requirements. And I just don't think that we do anymore. So I discussed it with Rick, and he had said to put on the agenda to discuss with you guys to see if you're comfortable kind of going back to a quasi norm. As I say quasi, I'd still like to offer public comment and public participation via Zoom as kind of a regular thing. It
I
seems to be
want
working
to
out
keep
well.
that too, just for the folks that can't attend.
Yeah.
In person, I'd like to have the ability to
Yes.
be here.
Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
All right, it does mean that there'll have to be some changes to our public participation policy, but I'll work on that a little bit later. For now, I'll just remove this hunk and chunk at the top of the agendas for now.
Excellent.
You can always go back to it if you need to.
Yep, and we can always go back. So then the last thing I have on me listed on the agenda is a replacement of the electronic sign. I had mentioned to you guys a few weeks ago, or maybe last week, that the electronic sign at the fire station was no longer a viable option to keep our equipment hosted there. The sign's aging. We're having problems with it connecting. So I looked into the cost of a new sign, and the original installer had given me an estimate of $21,000. And so I had gone and gotten some other quotes. And so what you saw in the packet from Signs Now, and it looks like 100,000, but it's totaling up their 4 different options that are available. That is not their quote.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't remember if we had discussed it, but what did we originally pay for this sign to be put up? Do we know?
I did look it up originally. It was like 15.
Okay.
I thought we had, because of the construction around.
Yeah, there's
That might have been
more work.
different. The sign installation itself
Right.
was like 12, 15,
I think the total.
And
was
how
around
long
20.
has that
Yeah.
sign been there?
Like 10 years, right?
2010.
11 years, okay.
What is exactly not functional with it? It still seems to be updated, it still seems to be functioning.
Because sometimes we go to the fire station and there's no computer.
Where's the computer?
They've taken off with it.
You can get a laptop to,
So,
a
right.
laptop
It
to talk to it.
we're relying upon our equipment to be inside of the fire station where it is a working fire station. And so as they need and do things, they move it around. And there was an issue with the computer, and I thought it was our computer, but they think it's their computer and they have their equipment on it as well. And so we're running into these issues. And then we run into issues where the two won't talk to each other after we've reconnected them. So,
And sometimes the sign goes blank.
yes.
We have no reason why.
Yeah, so we're just to a point that we should have installed from the beginning a cellular option that would have allowed us to not be reliant upon a third party to host it for us.
So why isn't the cellular option available now?
So
If
the-
our issue is connectivity and
Yes.
computer, let's work on connectivity and computer.
Yes, so our sign is so old that they no longer make that option for that sign.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
The sign is extremely useful and it does provide a lot of information. I don't view this as a complete broken item yet. And looking at the budget and the numbers and the treasurer's report, it's not something I'm willing to spend that much money on right now for a luxury item.
And that's fine. Then I just ask for understanding that when the sign isn't working or I can't change it, I have to shut it off. Those are the options. And so as long as we're all comfortable with that, then that's just where we'll be for now. Because I totally agree with you, William, but I also been just as frustrated that that's the main point of communication for our residents and I can't always use it.
I would say somewhere out there.
I say that might be our second or third point.
But it should because it's pretty
Well,
outdated.
but I would also look, because
Kohler's
there's either NOS equipment out there or there's, I hate to say the
Kohler's
term, but used equipment out there. Somebody could attach that sign
So,
to get us up to
The
run.
gentleman who originally installed it, we had back and forth conversations with, and he actually talked to the manufacturer to see if there were any options that we could do to get other equipment on there, and the manufacturer has said no.
That's Harder Signs was the original install.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is not necessarily new options, but find the
No, I don't
equipment
think
that was
there's
the
a
old.
option.
There wasn't the option at all, an option at all.
Didn't we originally have a desk there that allowed us to connect to the sign? Because we went through TeamViewer onto the fire
Yes.
station computer.
Yes.
And then that allowed us to
Yes.
address the computer. We couldn't do it directly from here because there was never a line of sight to the computer to communicate.
Yes,
My recollection, the computer that Lou was using, they used for their responding software.
they
And it
do.
sits in the radio room and they've upgraded
But
it.
we team viewered in to their machine from here. So it would, that software that came with the sign originally would still be available, but it wouldn't be able to probably run on Windows 7 or Windows 10. So all we really would lack would be something, a Windows laptop, I'm assuming it was Windows 10 years ago or whatever,
Yeah.
that would be able to run the software then say from a laptop. So you're still gonna have to physically go get in a car and park over there, which I think would, if you're having to drive over there, what's the difference? So it might be more advantageous to, if we could have the machine and find out what the original software was, somewhere that software is available to purchase again. I would either whether it be a used CD or God forbid, we maybe have the original software, Harder Signs or
But it
something.
has to be connected into the system. It's not a
Well, it's-
Wi-Fi option.
so-
It's a physical connection.
So that's the part I'm missing here is it's connected into their network.
Yes,
So why don't we find a way to
Connect
hardwire
it
it
into
right
our
straight
network.
to a laptop? Like he said, we could drive over and update it.
yes. So it is hardwired into a computer.
Well, again, if that's their.
But that has to
But-
start at
we
the
don't-
sign.
Why don't we just provide our own computer?
I suspect that any equipment that is left in that fire station will become that of the fire station.
Again, don't leave it there. Just connect
Yeah,
to
I
it,
mean-
make your changes.
I'm pretty
I see
sure
what
we
you're
have an
saying.
intergovernmental agreement that requires
Right.
access and our equipment there to use that sign.
Let's
My
let's
recollection.
I could take a look at
let's take
that.
a find out
Very
what we did when we
possibly.
did that, and find out how the agreement's worded.
Because I remember the agreement, they wanted access to put things on the sign as well. We would
Alright.
do it for them, but that was part of the agreement.
Okay, I didn't know that there was any language for the sign, so that might be separate
thought
than
there
the
was.
I thought there was
IGA, but I'll
too.
take a look. And then I see what you're saying now, so we would just take our own laptop over, plug it in every time we need it, which is essentially.
You're saying it is a direct.
So,
Yes.
but even if it is a direct connection, you just take the laptop over, plug it
Because I
in.
think that was a conversation originally, we would have to get out and connect right at the sign because we weren't
Yeah.
wanting to go into the fire station to do it. And we could directional bore over trees.
The sign is old, it is outdated, it does need to be replaced. I think we'll be better suited in about 18 to 24 months to do it.
Oh,
I agree.
So until then, I'll take a look and see if there's alternate options.
I'm sure we have a
available.
used laptop around here somewhere.
We do not, we're running out.
Or you can buy them on eBay running Windows. so.
But anyway, so we know for future budgeting purposes too, this is approximately what it's gonna look like price wise.
And a conversation with Chris Volk may.
Let's try to
yield
find
some
some less
results.
expensive options in the meantime.
I think there's an agreement that spells it
Yeah.
out.
I'll take a look and see if I can find something. I
With
just-
David, there has to be an agreement somewhere that spells it out.
It had to do when we
It's been too long.
deeded over the building.
That,
Because the
it
front
might
parcel
be,
was ours.
it
Yeah.
might be in the deed. All right, let me take a look. So the last thing that I have that's not on the agenda is that truck. It was the 2012 International.
The International.
Did we
That-
sell it?
That Fergie had discussed had to go in for repair. The repair is going to cost us $2,700.
They said up to, there may be a chance it's a little bit less than that.
Up to 2,700, which is
Another
just
sign?
over the expenditure spending limit of 2,500. So
Well, technically, the repair is 24, the diagnostics is $350.
Correct.
are we
Is
rolling
that
with
at Lakeside?
That's Lakeside. That is.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to, if nobody has an objection, Fergie and I discussed it just needs to be repaired. And so I'll put on the agenda next week not to exceed for $2,700 to repair the truck up at
And then we can.
International. Huh?
Is that
Then
the
we can
single
upload it.
axle
And then
dump
we're
we're
gonna-
getting rid of?
And,
Correct. Yes.
and then we're going to try and sell it.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Then we don't have to put any more.
It
money
would be
in.
great. Yes.
Yes. But
Internationals are great as long as they're under warranty.
all right, so that you'll see that on the consent agenda next week for the $2,700 repair at the International.
Oops.
All I have.
Before we get to next week,
Yes.
just for the two new members of the board, did they, you know what the consent agenda is? I don't remember, we did it when Bill was on the
We
board
did
last.
not.
Maybe we should bring
Yeah,
it,
probably
discuss it
Well,
before.
I'll give you a 2-second overview and then David's gonna go in depth on Junie.
Oh, got it.
But your 2-second overview on a consent agenda is at a committee meeting, if we all agree to something, I will put it on the consent agenda for the following week and we do one motion to approve all the items. None of the items are things we haven't talked about before. They're all things we talked about at committee level. So when I ask you if you're okay with it being on the consent agenda, I'm asking if you're okay with the following week, you're just gonna vote yes.
But the following week, if
Sure.
there is an item on there you want to remove for further discussion, there is that option as well.
There is also that
Always
option.
presented.
And if you know when we're talking at committee level that you don't want to vote yes for it, or you have more questions on it, you tell me now and I'll keep it off,
Hmm, I
okay?
see.
It's just a way, instead of making 10 motions for
Right.
10 items, we do it all at once.
Right, right. So we would include it in there and, with the rest of the items and no problem.
Yep.
If it's a yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And if it's a no,
If there's something you see that concerns you, we can remove it for further
But
discussion.
if one person, if
And
one
we'll discuss
person
it
votes
alone.
no, the whole thing fails, and we gotta do
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
individually.
yeah.
So it's-
Yeah,
it's-
so if you know that there's something on the consent agenda you don't want there, let me know either when Rick asks at the meeting, let me know ahead of time so I can move
Sure.
to a different part of the agenda, because one no will prevent the consent agenda from moving forward, and then we will have to vote on all 10 items individually. All
But-
right,
but-
and then
sure.
you'll get the more in-depth explanation on June 8th when David's here.
But try to ask all your questions at committee. That's the
Yep.
whole point of these meetings
Yep.
is
Yep.
so you don't come to the dog and pony show, as Rick used to call it, and,
Yeah, regular and admin meetings should be pretty quick now that we've got the consent agenda discussion at committees. And then admin and regular meetings should just be a quick vote and we're in and out. All right,
Brenda Brooks.
yes.
all right, that's what I mean by consent agenda.
Okay, we'll move on. Treasurer?
I have nothing right now.
Damn the motion. Report of the committees, community development and events.
All I have is still working on getting vendors for our farmer's market, which we will start on June 2nd. And that will be from 4 to 8. And then we have community garage sales on June 10th, 11th, and 12th with Stillman Valley, and Byron is also getting involved in it. That's something that we're doing also. And then our electronic recycling is the
19th,
19th, I was gonna say 16th is bulk pickup for trash. I think I hit everything.
you're busy.
July 3rd. July 3rd.
But,
July 3rd.
oh, and then our fireworks are gonna be July 3rd,
Saturday.
followed by our movie, which is the Tom and Jerry movie.
Cool.
Lots of events in the park going on,
Fall's great this year for fireworks too.
so that's all I have.
All right, finance?
I met with the supervisors yesterday morning to go over the proposed budget again. through some lengthy discussions and some magic number crunching. We have a proposed balanced budget. But Sandy, I asked Sandy to put together a brief PowerPoint explaining everything, where we started, the process we went through, and how we got to the end, and the proposal that we're going to propose. It'll be rough.
Can we see how we finished the past
Budget
year?
Look on your treasurer's, it's on the
The
treasurer's report.
report.
Last meeting in the board packet.
It's, our revenue is down.
Well, I knew that was gonna happen.
We'll be ending in the red.
Well, we expected that with the water tower project.
We,
Anyway.
not counting that, we'll still be in the red.
Really? By how much?
We made that extra payment too, so
Oh, the
Yeah.
371,000 or whatever it is for the,
we made the extra, so without, together, we're really not in the red that much because of.
It's not overly bad.
No, it's not that.
Wait for the meeting.
We did,
that ain't gonna tell me what we finished.
The meeting isn't gonna talk about current
Next year,
budget.
not what we did the previous year.
Next year, it's gonna be worse than what you see there.
Well, clearly, if the revenues,
I'll just say this much, the budget that we put together that we're gonna propose is looking ahead to the future, long-term, to set us up better than
Yes.
what we went through this year. We were anticipating somewhat of a decline, which we knew. We were expecting a gradual decline. We didn't expect to be thrown off a cliff,
Mhm,
so
So,
to speak.
mhm.
So
on that, I mean, just to give a little back, William and I did meet with the landfill, and they told us when the new ownership took over, they've done a tremendous amount of work up there of running new gas collection. They've been very good about staying in contact with us. But I don't think the new ownership has the history of where we started in all of our negotiations. But one of the other things they did when they came in is we knew Lakeshore Recycling was leaving because they bought their own landfill. That was a short-term contract. But the other thing we didn't know they were gonna do was they dropped a ton of waste streams due to sulfur content. So to try and control their own odors, they've eliminated waste streams out of landfill that had sulfur in them. And that has significantly affected the income coming from landfill.
Well, as well, Waste Management obviously has more assets in the region, and they have the ability to divert trash elsewhere.
not
You
for
know,
a permanent amount of time. though.
No, correct.
No.
And I made it very clear to them that we know this is a negotiating tactic, in my opinion, and they can do this for quite a while, but at some point, they will come back to this village and haul trash in again and want an expansion.
Right.
In the
I mean,
meantime, we're gonna have to make decisions that
We'll just sit and wait.
truly should have probably made 10 years ago.
Correct. To answer your question, Chris, the treasury report ending April 2021, we budgeted a revenue of 4.7. We received 3.9, so we were 800,000 short on revenue. Of course, that's still 2 months left in the budget, right?
What?
The April one, we got through May. We got,
Oh,
this
that's-
isn't a complete budget year, but
That's,
it's most up to date.
that's the end of the fiscal year.
End of April.
Budgeted, we were expected to budget expenditure of 5.1, and we spent 4.6. So, yeah, we spent more than we took in,
Yeah, well,
but we knew that was planned.
I figured that with the water tower and you did,
And the extra bond payment.
right.
Yep.
Right, but it was a couple 100,000 then over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like detrimental.
No.
Right,
We tightened enough strings in the end of the year to,
Mhm.
right, but we cut the streets down this year considerably, so it should be close to balanced.
I will say, we did leave, we didn't touch any street projects.
No.
We left a
No.
couple of
No,
park projects.
That's being paid by
MFT funds, right?
Yes, I'm saying, but
Except for.
Bare bones.
besides that, right, it's fair.
We're very tight.
No, I understand, but it should be a lot closer because we're talking about last year spending on streets, $750,000 on projects.
I think
This year, Zippo,
our income also is budgeted as much less for next year
A
too.
lot less.
No, I get that.
A lot.
Our expenditures, the proposed budget, it has over $1 million less in expenditures.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll get there. We'll be fine. I mean, just the board has to make a tough decision and, but it does set us up better for the future. And then it'll set us up better for the 2023.
23 year. Correct, 23.
That's all.
All right, ordinance enforcement, Bill?
I just got here. However, been working on a couple lawn jobs. And hopefully we will get some cooperation. Those are just, some works in progress, but I don't anticipate any odd problems with those at this point anyway. I am the recipient of a problem from Mogul Crossings with a neighborhood dispute. I guess the sheriff was out there because there's some four-wheelers causing a problem with some other neighbors, and they got into it. I don't know that much about it, but everything is alleged that they were all yelling and screaming at each other. Foul language was used.
Oh, no.
Unbelievable. Anyway, like I say, the sheriff went out there, and I don't know exactly how everything turned out, but nobody's happy. So stay tuned, and we'll see what's going to happen on that. I'll try to set up some other meetings and contacts with the Ogle County to see how, if they've got any new ideas or anything that which they think can help us upgrade our process and get some of these problems handled. And so that's also just a work in progress.
So, Bill, just since the last time you've been here, Ogle County's looking at legalizing all of those.
They were going to what?
They're going to legalize all of them in the county.
They're going to legalize the four-wheelers, you're saying? Okay. Well,
That's-
that doesn't matter what they want to
Whether or not
legalize.
That's their plan.
We still have some rights.
We still do.
We reserve some rights where we can direct and put stipulations in there as to what we want.
Just don't know how much the help the county is going to be if their rules are one and our rules are different.
They are a whole different
Just want to
ballgame
make you aware.
compared to us. So, we'll see what's going to happen, but I'm concerned. The other part of the problem is that we have neighbors at each other's throat. And I think somebody has to resolve it some way. And instead of just passing blame, let's see what can be accomplished by getting it resolved in a favorable, fashion. We can't have people dumping on stuff in our backyard and not help us. And we certainly don't do that to the county. And I can't accuse them of anything, but like I say, I don't know all the facts of what happened. And in fact, if really something did happen, who knows? So stay tuned. That's it at this point. Thank you.
Parks and John?
Nate and I are gonna meet with Fairgram before Memorial Day to just keep moving the park drawings, engineering and stuff. Obviously with the number one priority being the ponds. So Nate hasn't gotten back to me yet on the meeting date because we were still waiting for Fairgram to respond. That's all I have.
All right, streets and ditches, Chris.
Construction on North Junction Road is coming up. You put it on the website, right?
It is on our website and on social and Facebook, and it might be on the sign.
So
Okay.
whoever drives down North Junction Road should be prepared that, June 24th? Or sorry, July 20, what am I saying?
May 24th.
May 24th.
But
Next Monday?
Yeah, something like
the
that.
letter that went out to the residents was on social media, Facebook over the weekend, and then on our website, it's on the front of it.
Weather permitting. That's it. Unless you have something.
I do not.
All right. Utilities, Nathan.
I don't have anything that Ferg's not gonna cover, I guess, correct? Or no?
Yep, it's up to you. I can if you'd like, so, or Sandy can, because she's well aware of this too. It's our yearly, correct? Our yearly PDC lab agreement that I would say most of you are probably familiar with. This is where we send the lab work that we're not able to do in-house or not state certified to do in-house. So it's pretty much the same thing as last year.
Also keeps it third party where we're not,
Mhm.
we have transparency.
If there's no questions or concerns with it, I'll put it on the consent agenda for next week.
That's fine.
The water quality report, is it?
No.
No,
No, the water
This
quality,
is the lab testing.
since you mentioned that, the water quality report has been posted on our website. It'll be on the back of the water bills next month, and then we'll get filed with the state by the end of June.
Thank you, barking dog. Guard dog.
Yeah, it's guard dog.
You have a dog now?
No, it's
No.
the name of one of the options for the PDC lab agreement.
Dog would be nice.
That would include that concludes everything I have.
Anybody have anything on sidewalks?
Fergie and I, or Brett and Kyle Magnuson, the public works foreman, and I have a meeting next week to discuss the sidewalk.
should be next
I
week.
think it's next week to discuss the sidewalk. So hopefully we'll have something at the next committee meeting. I won't be here, so
We
we'll have
have
one
that-
at this committee meeting next month.
We have the little mini excavator, just go along and pull the chunks out, fill it with dirt.
Yes, we can do that.
Backhoe for that.
No, the little mini excavator were great.
Yep.
Roll right along, pick pieces.
Yep.
All right, public.
I don't have anything.
Sorry, I grabbed the wrong mask. I'm Susan Brett, and Fred brought up an application for some work to be done to our driveway about 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
We haven't received anything on that.
Yep. So your driveway brought up an interesting scenario that we've been dealing with here in the village, which is she has a house in Ogle Crossing in which the driveway does not have a sidewalk. So we discussed years ago that as those people redo their driveways, we would insert our sidewalk going across it to complete the sidewalk that should have been completed with the subdivision. So your application actually came back with that language missing. So it's back at the building inspector waiting on that language to be added. We also created a cover letter that you'll receive with it that says the procedures that we're going to go through to make sure that our sidewalk gets installed at the same time.
So you would tear out the drive that's already there?
You'll tear up, your contractor will tear up the drive and get all of his stuff formed, and then we will come in and put in our sidewalk, and then your contractor will come back and finish your asphalt.
Okay, and he knows,
It's on a cover letter that's with your permit.
okay.
That's why I said, I'm kind of waiting on the building inspector. I did ask the administrative assistant to follow up on your application this morning, because I also noticed that it had been an exorbitant amount.
So
of
there's
time.
supposed to be a driveway through everybody's
No, it's not.
sidewalk?
Your
Sidewalk?
builder kind of skated through and it wasn't caught for many years. They're supposed to put a sidewalk across your yard, and then it's supposed to continue across your driveway. So, but all the original section in Ogle Crossings, they paved from the garage to the street,
Mhm.
skip the sidewalk. You're supposed to have a sidewalk go across your driveway, yes.
Yeah.
So instead of making you pay for that, because it wasn't your fault, we were wanting to get them done correctly, and when you guys tear up your driveway,
Okay.
replace it, we will put it in.
Okay, we just were waiting, and I am the complainant from,
So how long has it been since it's been in?
It has been exorbitant amount of time. I'd say a week and a half or two. It's been longer than normal. I did ask Sarah to follow up this morning. I will claim some of that delay, I'd say probably 2 days of it was on our end as we figured out the procedure for installation of sidewalks. And unfortunately, Susan is the first one that we're putting a procedure in place for. So the delay is on our end.
But we need to make sure we get back to people.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked Sarah to follow up today.
okay, and I am the person again with the four-wheeler that came up behind me while I was walking on your alley. And it followed myself and the dog. I stopped and turned around, took 3 steps, and I told the little girl, I said, don't follow my dog and myself as we're walking on this alley. She informed me it was up to me to move for her. don't go there. That's not a good thing. You don't have a license. There's no slow moving vehicle sign on that. So she went down the road. I don't know who she is. I don't know. I don't care. She went down to her place. The dog and I went down there to speak with her father, who then come out to tell me that that was okay. As the young neighbor boy is calling me about 25 or 30 times, my little Hispanic daughter, when I called her on the phone, she's like, he doesn't know anything about you. I said, that's the world. That's the world we live in. I have 2 police officers, daughters, and they put up with this every day. Unfortunately, they're a lot more calmer than their mother. So not only did I flip him off and told him to bite it, which he then resisted and did to me. So I stood there. I was told by people on this board to call Ogle, the sheriff's. The sheriff says, no, that alley is village property because whoever mows the right of way.
I'm sorry, there's some confusion by board members. She's talking about Durfee Lane, the dirt road that goes along old wastewater treatment property that backs up to Ogle Crossing.
And the city maintains both sides of this. So I don't walk on anybody's property but the village. I walk where he's mowed, which I'm assuming is that village property. The other part of it is weeds. I'm sorry. The gentleman that owns that is going to bail whatever he calls that out there. Nothing I've ever seen in my farm life, but he's going to bail it.
Is that Contree's property?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he just has a small patch.
5 acres.
Yeah.
Well, I was walking, I thought it was 6 when I was walking, but if you say 5, I'll go with that. Okay, so they ride their 4-wheelers in the grass. Why are you riding behind me when I'm walking? Well, that's not going to stop. And if this county decides to go ahead and okay this, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people hurt. Because if she runs over me out there, you know where I'm going to come back to. Because it is village property, because the village mows both sides of that. And then I'm going to come back to her. And the little boy at the end of this way is going to find out what a slander suit is. Because his parents were there watching him. Nice people. There's no reason for that.
We have an ordinance.
But 25 times to be, for everybody to hear? No. No. While your parents are watching?
So what did the sheriff say?
He said he can't do anything because where I'm standing is public property. That, I'm sorry, it's village property. That road back there is village property. And I never got off that road.
How they get on, how do they get to the road?
They ride down behind our house on that
That-
road.
No, but don't they have to ride on the road to
He
get
has
to
every
the-
legal right
get
to
to it?
enforce.
Pardon me?
He has every right to enforce county ordinances, whether.
It's a go-between because the board told me to go to where?
Okay.
And where did he tell me to go? Here I am.
Well, we have no enforcement ability, so, and they do. And for most people to get their quad or whatever they're driving to that area, they have to go on the.
All but the people at the end of the road.
They'd have to trespass is what they'd have to do.
Right.
Whether it's an alley or a paved road, the sheriff still has the authority. to
You're right.
enforce it.
You're
So
right.
it's a cop-out.
He has
It's a cop out on,
We can't do anything.
he has the discretion.
There's no
to
way for
enforce
us
it.
to
He
do
doesn't have to enforce anything. He has the discretion
Yes,
to
he does.
enforce.
he doesn't want to get involved.
So, I mean, he has the right.
And yet one went by last night, a side-by-side thing went
You
by
really do.
3 times. And they rode down and then they went out through the grass. That's fine. Why are you riding in my kitchen? Because that's what it sounds like. My kitchen is right there. I'm like, oh, gosh.
In a perfect world, how would you have this fixed? I'm sorry, did you?
I'm sorry, what?
In a perfect world, how would you have us fix this? Or how would you have it fixed?
I'm not on this board, so that would not be up to me.
But
I think
The solution
board- I
for
think
your-
the board needs to stand up. If you've got an ordinance, otherwise, why do you have ordinances if you're not going to enforce them? You've got a whole lot of ordinances.
The mechanism to enforce it is going to cost this community hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay,
Is that what you're asking us to do?
I'm not asking, I'm asking you to say something to them. Does that, and maybe that doesn't work.
But you don't know,
I guess,
See, and that's where we run into a problem is because for us to say something to them, one of us has to physically see them on their property, on that piece.
actually, you don't have to do that.
According to our lawyers, we do.
Check with your lawyers again, because if you know who it is, you can go to their house and you can serve them a certificate, an ordinance. It can be $75 paid at the door, or you can turn that into the sheriff's department. And it's a $150 fine.
We're not set
We
up.
cannot, because we do not have an adjudication process. We cannot issue anybody a ticket because we.
So
don't
if I
give
get
them the
hurt
due
or somebody
process
else
rights.
gets hurt out there,
You can
then what
civil sue 'em.
happens?
You can civil sue 'em.
Not only them, but if I'm on your property out
We have
there,
tort immunity.
that's
same-
different.
for the
That's
same
for this
reason-
board.
For the same
That doesn't
reason
work
you're
that
against
way.
Trespassing. If that's your analogy, then you're trespassing also.
Yes.
That's not trespassing. That is not trespassing because it
I'm pretty
is,
sure at the end of the road, it says, do not enter.
no, there's nothing down
The
there.
sign was taken.
No, they
Is it
took
taken
down.
down? Then I apologize, but
Maybe we put the sign back.
Oh, maybe we should put one on each end and then but if it says do not enter or no trespassing, that would be the same for walkers as it would be.
Okay, but that means everybody that walks across your road to go out and take their kids to fly their kites, take their kids to out
and we
to
don't
play
want to do
ball.
that. I mean,
They're gonna be trespassing.
Well, technically not if they walked on the bike path.
So they gotta walk down and then come back in. Okay.
we're getting into the weeds on
We are.
semantics here. I mean, that's,
Well, if that's what Rick wants, I mean, I can walk him down and come back because all I do is walk my dog out there twice a day.
I have no problem with you walking on the path. I mean,
Or I can walk 3 feet across of it and walk to the grass. You know, I mean, I don't have a problem when somebody rides up behind me on a 4-wheeler that doesn't have a license, that doesn't have insurance, that has no slow moving vehicle sign. Maybe your no trespassing signs will get run over because I don't know what the solution is. I'm sorry, I don't. But I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be called names.
Some of these things have to be worked on, and like I
understand.
said previously, Sarah, that I don't know the full story of what everybody did. I don't know what happened, with your neighbors out there. I don't know with what the sheriff's deputy said and did, or whatever he done. I don't know if how he used his discretion. I don't care about the county authorizing 4-wheelers at this point, because the state of Illinois gives us driver's licenses, but we have to obey the laws and we can't use vehicles as weapons, and there has to be guidance that we follow the rules and regulations. So there's a lot of work, that has to be done, and I don't want neighbors at their throats, at each other's throats. But I also want everybody to do all they can. I want the village to do all they can. I expect the sheriff to do all they can. And the poor deputy's probably caught in the middle as to really what to do. Because we have traffic laws, we have criminal laws, and we have civil law. And this borders and combines all those things together depending on what happens. The complaint that you people have out there could start just as a minor thing. And then once people put hands on themselves, or they start telling people that scaring them, going to disorderly conduct, it becomes criminal, and the sheriff has to take a different stance on stuff like that. In the village, it doesn't have to, we don't handle it, the county does. Now, everybody's got a good defense and a good story. So it's going to take time to see actually what everybody's job is, okay? Like I say, this has to be resolved. We can't have these problems keep coming up, no matter what they are for the village, okay?
Well, it evidently came up last year because the neighbor down from me said he worked from home and he said it was the most miserable summer he'd ever had. He said all they did was drive up and down and up and down.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of other things that come into play here, and it's not only the village's responsibility
Right.
or the sheriff, it's the parents' responsibility. Now, what was going on out there? What did you see on this 4-wheeler? Who was on there? Who was driving it? Was there anything else going on?
Well, when you can't see all the way down to where I live, it's kind of hard to stand there and yell about how you've seen and you heard everything. Because I can't see their house from mine.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for listening. And if you have
Well, you're-
any thoughts at all.
You're welcome.
So did the Ogle County come out at all?
Yes,
They did eventually come out?
Mhm.
How long did it take? Do you know how long it took them to?
it
come
wasn't
out?
very long.
Okay.
He just said, this is village property. He says, I can't do anything. here."
What was the address that the girl lived at?
I don't-
I would prefer that not be on the record.
I know.
I don't,
Talk after
I don't
the meeting.
know, but,
Yeah.
well, you can talk now at the meeting because it's not hard for me to find that out if I want to drive around that way.
Yes, no, and that's fine. I would prefer addresses be kept off at this moment. I already am gonna have to put some bleeping on this video.
He didn't bleep himself.
But when you cuss and I post it to social media, I have to bleep it.
Well, then maybe his parents should have knocked him off the deck because they were standing there listening to him going, yeah, and leaning over the side of it.
I'd continue to call the sheriff until the point where they get fed up and deal with it, and then they actually take action. They're the ones that are required to enforce it.
I
They
agree.
are the law enforcement.
I agree. They should have. They should have 100%. I'm behind you.
Have we communicated to the sheriff?
But maybe if you guys
We
call
don't
and
want
say,
him to run.
maybe that'll be more than just me.
That's what
Yeah.
they're just asking.
Discretionary.
We've talked to them about it, and that's when they told us that the county was looking at legalizing it, so they.
I understand that part, but
And they're not going to enforce our ordinances. It's real simple,
it's a
they're not
street
gonna-
law. You can't ride on, I'm just saying, you can't ride on the street.
but it's discretion.
Well, again, it's state.
Unless
law,
you're going
unless-
towards-
It's state law unless the local
Local traffic.
Right, but we have,
body government overrides it.
right,
And if
and that
Ogle
would be
County-
us, which we have.
So then we'd have to
But if Ogle
enforce it.
County overrides it, their law enforcement is not going to enforce it.
Nor would you expect them to.
Well, that's not true. I mean.
I wouldn't expect them
But
to.
the kid that was riding on there with her was put in a bad position also.
So the people that you got in the argument with, were they the parents of the girl driving?
I don't
You
know
don't
because I
even
don't
know.
know them. The lady had blonde hair and he was short and had not much hair. I didn't get that close to really.
I just didn't know if, they were totally separate incidences or if, it was
No,
the parents
because,
of the.
no, because I was down the road there, the gravel, what do you call that? An alley?
It's a lane. It's a
Service road.
vacated,
Okay.
it's a vacated lane.
Okay,
Nobody uses it for
Okay.
anything. It's vacated. We don't use it. It's perfect.
well, I did, and you know that because.
I know, but
Okay,
it's perfect.
so I walked down there and I didn't get off of the lane. I
Right.
didn't, there was like 10 kids at this house that all came out. He came out and started to move the four-wheeler and then he sat on it. And that's when he started yelling at me because she has the right to do this. She has the right to do this. And then the other young high school boy came out and that's when he said, I see it all. Why don't you go? Yeah, I won't say it. And he's kicking around the soccer ball. And then there's two other boys out front with black shirts on and they're yelling and screaming at me, the same things. And then the parents are standing there like, we don't know what to do. I mean, that's the look on their face. It was just their body shape, not their face. I wasn't that close, but it was like, what do we do? It's a mess. The whole thing is, but have your children say that and you're standing there. The parental guidance is lacking. And I don't even know who they are. But they are south of the house that has the four-wheelers.
So they weren't the family that had the four-wheelers?
No, the family of the four-wheelers is at the end of that lane
Okay,
with the mashed-up pool in the backyard.
okay.
Yeah. Because when I walk that way, it's been mowed, but I'm not sure what's been mowed and what hasn't because they don't mow their yard. So I'm trying to stay, where it says easement, where those two poles are that say easement, I walk between there. There used to be an easement on the north side, but that's gone. Somebody's taken it down. But I try to walk between, So we're walking the outside. I mean, he doesn't go, he piddles out there, but he doesn't, we walk out the outside and then we go home twice a day. But when she comes riding up behind a big dog like that, I told her, I said, that's not a good thing. So thank you very much for your time and I will wait to hear
Yeah, I asked our administrative assistant to follow up today, and then
Okay.
I didn't follow up again with her, so I'll ask her in the
Well,
morning.
the blacktop, the guy was asking, you know,
Yeah.
because we got to move the mailbox over and everything, and he goes, have you heard? And
Yeah, and as I said, I'll take a few of those days for on me as we try to figure out.
that's
what
okay,
the
that's okay.
procedure
We just wanted to make sure everything, you know.
Nope.
Thank you,
Yep.
everybody. Thank you.
Brett, we have any Jersey barriers?
What's a Jersey barrier?
Nobody, concrete block.
Oh,
It doesn't matter, they'll go around it.
Well, I understand.
Bleep, bleep.
But there's probably about a 300-foot section we could put
There, you go around.
a barricade up. and
We
make
at
them
one
go
time
around.
had the end of Durfee Lane chained. We had posts in there, had it chained. They drive around, they drive down through the swale. You know, it would,
They go down all the streets. They go
It'd
down.
be
my house all the
fruitless
time.
there's no way to,
Yeah, but we
It's-
probably
it's
should put a
impossible.
sign up that says no trespass.
we can put more up. We've got the Ogle Crossing Pond loaded with no trespassing signs and they are in there.
Vehicles, maybe.
We
or
don't need a
something.
sign that protects us from toward immunity.
Yeah, I mean, we're more than happy to put up more signs, but
They're gonna, right.
it isn't working at Ogle Crossing
It's
Pond. I
gonna
can
end up
tell you
being
that.
civil.
And I don't
So-
expect it because I don't think
Yeah,
that people, some people haven't.
More than happy to.
and just so Bill and Nathan are caught up to date as well, the same discussion occurred with this resident, with our attorneys here, and the attorney confirmed what William had said, is that we're covered under tort immunity, so there's not a liability issue to the village.
No, but
So
they should
can
be
I-
driving there.
Can I ask a question then? And like I said, I'm sure this has been answered 27 times tonight, but so with what the resident was saying, we call the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department comes out, sheriff's department says it's a city street. I can't do anything about it.
And don't write a city ticket in it.
So then it's a dead issue. So I'm just asking because, well, I'll be honest with you. I'm asking as a resident that hears it
Right.
nonstop.
Mhm.
Right. That's the
So
way kind of, you know.
that's why I'm asking, so I know what to do, but
But-
she just answered what happens when you do what you're supposed to do.
That's not strictly the truth. I mean, if you ride on a street, a state street, there's a state statute on what you have to be a motor vehicle. And they don't comply. So they could give them a ticket if they wished.
No, I'm not saying that the Ogle County Sheriff's Department can't give them a ticket. I'm saying the response she was given, it's a city street,
Right,
call the city.
right.
Or it's
They-
city
that's kind of what I'm
property.
asking.
They,
It's
they
village
have the
property.
authority to write a county ordinance violation on a city street. They are choosing not to.
And there's
So
nothing.
I would, my opinion is we continue to call until the sheriff gets fed up and he opens up a dialogue with this village.
Or they just quit coming on those
Or
types of calls
They won't, they gotta.
No, they have to
They have to
respond to all calls
eventually.
that they have to do.
Well, they didn't respond because she called about a four-wheeler. They responded
Correct.
because.
And I will reach out to Sheriff Van Vickle and see if we can start some kind of communication on this. It's obviously getting
So as it stands though,
escalated.
the county has an ordinance against riding for now.
I don't think they've passed it
I don't
yet.
think they've.
No, against it.
You're correct.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. So right now, the county has an ordinance against it, besides the state
Yeah.
statute that they could write a ticket.
yes,
Correct.
yes, I get what you're saying, yes.
But it's discretionary on enforcement.
Of course.
So then this has been something that's been going on for the 17 years I've lived here. And we know the answer is unless we create a police department, there's really no effective way to police this.
And
And
if you're
for
a
me,
police
I don't
officer-
think $300,000 or more a year to have a four-wheeler ordinance enforced is money well spent.
I agree.
So I don't know why we keep going round and round. You went round and round about it, but the whole issue is enforcement. We don't have a way to enforce it. The same thing when Jared wanted to make it legal. We have no way to enforce it. Maybe it was a great idea to make it legal, but you have no way to
William said,
enforce the legal
yeah,
part of it.
Even
So,
if we could find them, we have no way to adjudicate it.
yeah, I mean, it's just,
Well, we went through that with the attorneys and it would be expensive too.
and we'd get stuck paying for it like we,
Oh,
so
absolutely. I understand.
But we still have to
Can't be-
listen to
We certainly
the
can listen.
residents and
Yep.
stuff like that, because we all are residents here and
absolutely.
some way, shape or form, somebody is gonna get hurt.
Well, and that's what's gonna happen. And when it does, then something will. change.
Right, that's what
Right.
I'm saying. And it's gonna take till somebody gets hurt that then it's, well, why didn't you do something before? Well, we're trying, but there are people who don't want to listen.
would totally.
They just want to do what they want to do. And there are those people who do have them and truck, trailer them out and they go have their own fun the right way. And those people are the ones that are going to get hurt from it.
But along that same line of discussion is the people that speed, the people that blow the stop signs, the
Right.
people that don't slow down. So I mean, yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying
But the sheriff is enforcing that.
that
They do.
I'm not disagreeing that we need to do something, but we
The
keep
message just.
talking
needs to
the
be
same way.
Every time they come.
We keep talking the same way about,
Well, we all can feel for her and we understand,
Oh, we absolutely understand, but we also understand the frustration of not be able to enforce it.
No, I
You know,
understand.
if there was something we could do, we would.
I agree.
that's reasonable for all,
Well,
everyone.
right, so we got to keep thinking and digging and trying to figure something out.
Hopefully someday the state will give us the means to do it. Glenda, we're still on public. Did you have anything?
No, I did not.
All right. Anything further from the board members?
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Chris makes a motion to adjourn. John second. Roll call, please.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yep.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.